What's up, guys? It's Nofsky with Academia Audio, and today I'm going to show you how to make a Dr. Fresch banger like this.
Ever quit when you're sick of it? Or come around the bend again, then we conquer it. In my prime like Optimus, whack MCs pop to this. Transform like Voltron, no there's no stopping this. Rock like Gibraltar, for all the populace. Like a Dalmatian, never hesitate, trust the innocent. Yeah, we never quit. Yeah, we be the ultimate, it's like... The trick is not to hold on, yo, it's to let go.
Alrighty, guys, so that was it. A Dr. Fresch banger, that ghetto house, that mid-tempo. A few things, in my opinion, that make Dr. Fresch is his combination of that gangster rap with those heavy hitting basses at that mid-tempo groove, like 100, 110, around that area. We're going to be working in 105 today. And before we get started, I do want to mention we have a free gift for you guys down below. It is a template that I'm using right here. We have a whole video explaining how this is going to be beneficial for you, but in a nutshell, a lot of things are already gain staged for you, like the bass bus at -12, drum bus -6, synth bus. If we go into the snares, it's already at -3, and it's just kind of a rough kind of starting point. So when you're working in our template in a project, you can worry less about twisting knobs and focus more on the creative process. Without any further ado, let's dive in. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the bass bus because I feel like that's why people are even watching this video. For starters, as far as the low end, I do have a sub going on. It's one of our subs from our Exhale pack. If you guys aren't aware, we do have an Exhale pack full of a bunch of awesome presets, so go check that out. It's in the link in the description. As far as post-processing goes on the actual sub, all I have is a little bit of compression going on and then a little bit of EQ, and that is it, keeping it simple. Next, I do have this reverse element right here, and this is what that sounds like. And again, this is also a preset from our pack. I did bounce it out to audio though, just so I could beef it up a little bit. And then besides that, I do have a little bass hit right in the pre-drop that sounds like this. So I just kind of felt it sounded cool there. No particular reason, not essential, but yeah. And now, the moment you've all been waiting for. All the top wubby big hitting basses, and these are those right there. Now if you notice, I do have some in MIDI and I do have some in audio, and I did end up bouncing it all out to this track right here, which bouncing things to audio can help on a few different levels. One, it can kind of give you more control when you're splicing things, you know, everything's frozen, so you can really get some exact cuts. The other thing it can do is you can really beef it up more with like adding saturation and OTT, then bouncing it out to audio, then adding more saturation and OTT and bouncing it out again, and just the process of resampling. So I'm going to go ahead and tackle this. We'll go ahead and start with the first hit labeled first right here, and this is what that sounds like. And that is a preset from our Exhale Serum pack yet again. When I make these videos, I really try to only use our Serum presets in our samples, just kind of a way to showcase them in a live project. So that is our boomin' bass. As far as post-processing, I have some saturation and a little bit of filter freak. Next, we have this sound right here. And this is actually from a sound up here. I made this one actually a few years ago, and it's just a sine wave, but when you pull that sine wave down a few octaves, you can get some really interesting sounds. So this is what it sounded like before. And then through the process of EQing and saturation and all that, this was the final result. Next, I do have our main bass, the little groove that comes in. This is what that sounds like. And I do have some automation going on, and it just kind of opens up that cutoff right here. So, and then I have it a little different on the second part. So, and then as far as post-processing, I have a little bit of saturation, and that is it. And that's pretty much all I'm doing with the basses. I do have quite a bit of post-processing going on, and this is what I was kind of getting at of resampling. So, as far as the bass bus, I do have a little bit of decapitator. I have some saturation. I have some overdrive. I have an EQ. I have more compression. I have OTT, another instance of OTT, and then a additive EQ. And that pretty much wraps up all the bus processing going on. I then went ahead and bounced it out to audio here, and I added more saturation, another EQ, and then more compression. This was the final results of that. Oh, I forgot to mention, I do have one more sound going on, and this is actually a sample that I found. And this was kind of the whole inspiration of the song, and this is what that sounds like. So with that one, I did kind of keep it going throughout the drop, just with a little bit of endless smile automation. So that pretty much sums up the bass bus. A few things to keep in mind, utilize different basses. It doesn't have to be the same bass throughout the whole thing. Go ahead and saturate the crap out of it, resample it, maybe throw some OTT on it. I'm not a big fan of OTT unless it comes to like harder styles, kind of like dubstep or some heavy hitting basses. I think it's really good for that. But yeah, just have fun with it, utilize some resampling, and see what you come up with. This is the whole bass bus together. Next, let's go ahead and move over to the drums. So anytime I'm doing mid-tempo or that genre, I usually go with the classic 4 on the floor pattern, a snare that has a lot of noise to it, and then maybe a layered clap to kind of get that transient popping through. This is the kick we chose, and this is one of our mid-tempo kicks from our pack. As far as the snare, this is what that sounds like. And then I did layer that with a clap. And I shifted the clap over to the right ever so slightly, and then I also did back it up so it's not on top of one another to kind of give it a sound. This is what they sound like together. And then if you notice, I did do a few clap fills. And then I did bring in some hi-hats, and this is a few of our hi-hat loops. And then I did find this really cool textured top loop. This is the hi-hats together. And then this is with that other top loop. No post-processing on any of these. I do have a little bit of reverb send going on this guy, and then I did pan these pretty heavy to the left and right, and that is it. Drums are super simple for these tracks. You could spice it up with some tom fills and things like that. I just went ahead and utilized some snare or clap fills, and that was it. As far as post-processing goes, all I have is a little bit of saturation and a little bit of compression. Before we dive into the effects, I do want to touch on the synth bus. I do have one sound going on in here, and it is originally a string drone that I saturated the crap out of, and I'd added some pitch automation. Let me see if I can go ahead and find this original one for you guys. This is what it originally sounds like. And this is after I had some fun with it. So I just brought a pitch automation there, I threw some saturation, and then I added some sidechain and got a really, really cool background texture with that. Now moving on to the effects. I do have this cash register that kind of pops in right before the drop. And then I do have this little guy kind of accenting that reverse bass. And then I do have a little sword hit, which this is actually kind of funny because back when I was a dubstep producer, I used to put this exact sword hit in all of my dubstep drops at least once, just kind of as a little signature in there. Next, I have a clock ticking when that bass groove comes in. This is what it sounds like in context. Next, for the riser bus, I do have quite a few risers, and this is what those sound like. So 2 of those are risers, and then one of those is actually a car alarm. I just thought it fit the vibe. I do have a chopped up sweep going on. And then I do bring in a siren on the second drop, which this is probably one of the most overused samples in the dubstep, hard-hitting trap, mid-tempo community. And this is what that sounds like. So it's just a really, really good filler to put in the background to kind of fill up some of that atmosphere. Next, I do have some vocals. Again, got these off Splice per usual. The only interesting thing I did with these is I did do a echo going on to kind of fill up that background, and this is what that sounds like. And the way I use this is I use an H delay, and this is a really powerful trick that I learned a while ago that I use in all kinds of songs, and you don't have to have it repetitive, keep going like that. You can actually get rid of these guys, and this is what it would sound like if those weren't there. So it just kind of fades out, which that's how I typically use it unless I am trying to have something constantly going in the background of the drop. All you want to do is click the lo-fi button, set this knob to your desired rate, and then you can choose ping pong, left or right. Go ahead, and the feedback knob is for how long the sample is actually going to last. Then high pass and low pass, pretty self-explanatory. You're just cutting frequencies there. I drag the analog all the way down, and then dry and wet all the way up, and then output, how loud you want the sound to be. You can also control that post-processing on the section right here. Yeah, that's pretty much how I set it up each time, and I'll just tweak the knobs accordingly to the track. No post-processing on that section, and that pretty much wraps up the whole drop. Pretty simple drop. I think the hardest part for me when I was making this was really beefing up those basses. It took me a while to kind of figure out a good process to go about that, just because for whatever reason I try not to bounce things out to audio just because it makes me feel weird and it gets me all kind of bamboozled. But I think for beefing up a bass, it's essential to go ahead and resample that and just keep beefing it up until it's the desired thickness, and then if it's not, throw it back in the oven and cook it a little longer. So yeah. Again, if you guys like any of the sounds in this video, definitely go check out our packs down below. They're so powerful. I use them in just about every single project, whether it's our Genesis pack with our samples, or Exhale Serum presets, or our textures pack. We're coming out with a hip-hop drum pack because I really love when EDM is combined with the hip-hop rap genre. So go ahead and check those out. If you guys have any questions or comments, feel free to put those down below. We really do want to add value when we make these videos. So if there's a specific song or an artist that you want us to sound like or recreate something in that genre, please put that down below. We would love to do that for you guys. Feel free to like, share, and subscribe. It is much appreciated. I hope this song inspired you on your adventure to make that next mid-temp banger. You guys have a blessed day. Peace.
Yeah, we be the ultimate. It's like the trick is not to hold on, yo, it's to let go.